Presidential primary season is underway, but lawmakers at the state capitol in Phoenix are still looking for ways to tweak Arizona's election process.
The Senate Elections Committee today took up bills dealing with voter registration, ballot counting, and more. 13 News reporter Bud Foster has more on what they could mean.
What we will do is hear the description of the bill and then go into testimony.
In its first committee session of the year, the Senate Elections Committee took up two bills, one of which was vetoed by the governor last year. The other is also a rerun. The governor vetoed a record 143 bills last year, the most in Arizona history. Today, two of those election laws got some revision and were brought back for a second try, but it does not look good.
I'm going to vote no. I think that, the discussion here at the dais and today has been really informative. This is still the same language that we saw last year, previously vetoed. I'm not sure there's been much to kind of address that gap.
It's expected several of the election bills the governor vetoed will show up in some form this session, changed a bit to see if it can slide through this year. It is an election year, and one which will likely prove to be quite contentious. The partisanship was on display this afternoon. To sell the bills, Republicans called out Democrats, and Democrats pushed back.
Senator Hoffman, you mentioned the Democratic County Recorder for Maricopa a few years ago. For the last few years, though, we've had a Republican County Recorder. It is what it is, right? You may not agree with that, but he's a Republican.
The two bills that were passed out of committee along party lines this afternoon had to do with what sponsors called transparency and the need for county recorders and the Secretary of State to list everyone they are holding voter registration events with.
Voters should be able to know, especially since these are elected positions, who they're participating in those events with. That way the voters can gauge whether or not there's bias in how voter registration is being conducted by those government bodies.
But the Democrats gave a not-so-subtle indication of where the bill may be going once it hits the governor's desk again this year.
I think at the very least, adding burdens to our county officials and our Secretary of State is not currently the way to go. I vote no.
And right now, Bud Foster joins us live.
And Bud, the city of Tucson does not have an election in 2024 this year, but is still caught up in this election cycle. How is that?
Well, yeah, Dan, as you all know, it is 2024, and the city of Tucson does not hold any of its elections in an even number of years. It's in odd years like 2021 or 2023. The state of Arizona hates that and has been trying for years to force the city of Tucson to hold all of its elections in even number of years. But the city of Tucson has always won in court. But now there's a new law on the books here in 2024 trying to force the city to once again go to even numbered years. At this point, the city of Tucson doesn't know whether or not this new law has any teeth. It's going to meet behind closed doors tomorrow in an executive session to determine what its next move might be. So it's going to be an interesting election year. Everyone will likely be caught up in it. Dan, Brooke?
Definitely so. Thank you, Bud.